everybody. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here tonight. So let's get started by thanking, thank you to Hodo Foods, the sponsor for this week's talks. Prize packs for this month's contest have been graciously donated by Hodo Foods, Crofters Organics, Follow Your Heart, and Orgain. I invite my viewers to enter the monthly contest at virtualvegfest.com and click on the contest tab for details. Entering is super easy. Just by liking and or subscribing to our social media and Virtual Veg Fest YouTube channel, you're entered to win one of 4 prize packs. And of course, thank you to Plant-Based Network for sponsoring Virtual Veg Fest. I'm so excited that you guys are here tonight. Oh, it's Cinnaholic is a sponsor as well. So sorry about that. Cinnaholic is our newest sponsor. That's amazing. I first went to Cinnaholic, just a quick little aside before we get started. I first went to Cinnaholic back in 2010. I was in San Francisco and drove to Berkeley to the location, and I may or may not have bought 6 cinnamon buns to consume over the next couple of days. And I may or may not have eaten one in the car on the ride back to San Francisco. Then they opened recently here in New Jersey in Westfield, and certainly made it a point to swing by and get some takeout cinnamon buns. And they have a really cool pizza kit as well, where they give you the dough, the cheese, the sauce, so you can make vegan pizzas right there at home. That was amazing. It's so good. Oh my goodness. So tell me, as we get started, what's everybody's favorite vegetable, or where are you watching from? I would love to know one or both of those things. So just leave that in the comments, and while I let you know what we are, what we're working on this year. Oh, we have a comment from Lou. Hi, Lou. How are you? Will there be a Veg Fest this year? I'm not sure. I think because of all of the still kind of restrictions going on throughout the country, that it will vary depending on location. And I'm sure that we'll get an update on that hopefully soon, so that everybody can start planning to go to Veg Fest. I know for sure that I have missed being able to be in, in a vegan, veg-filled place where everything I know, everything I'm surrounded by, I can eat and or buy, and I'm looking forward to it. But Lou, keep an eye on our website, and there'll be posts there for sure of whether or not there'll be a Veg Fest this year. But there's certainly the virtual Veg Fest with talks like this and the vendors online. Oh, amazing. Thank you, Helene. There will be a Nashville Veg Fest on October 9th and the Greenville Fun Fest on August 15th. Ah, I'm so jealous. I might have to take a drive. So if any of you are just joining, definitely let me know where you're watching from and your favorite vegetable. Ah, Brussels sprouts. Love Brussels sprouts. I really like them roasted with some balsamic vinegar. Oh, there it is, Richard. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to put these up. So here we go. Richard loves Brussels sprouts, especially roasted. So we are in agreement there. Thank you. So tonight, I just wanted to talk about some of the labels that we use, and feel free to keep commenting and ask questions related to this topic or anything else that comes to mind. I wanted to talk about some of the words that we use when we're describing how we show up in life and around the dinner table. And so the first word, and I want to just talk, because sometimes it can be confusing, right? People don't know, what does vegan mean, or what does it mean to be vegetarian? And it can get confusing when you're out at a restaurant and you're ordering something, or looking forward to those days again, or if you are with family and someone makes you something, maybe you're going on a first date or you're in a new relationship and the person's going to cook for you, and you want to make sure that they know really what you can eat or what you will eat or won't eat. So I'll start with veganism, and then we'll define that. Excuse me, and we'll walk through some of the other words that we typically hear when we're talking about things that we eat or buy, whatever. So veganism is, and this definition is from the Vegan Society, and this definition was written by Donald Watson back in the 1940s as a way to give us a way to describe what we are, what we're doing. So veganism is a philosophy and a way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose, and by extension promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives for the benefit of animals, humans, and the environment. In dietary terms, it denotes the practice of dispensing with all products derived wholly or partly from animals. So what that means is that it's not just about what we eat. When we are vegan, that's a huge part of it. What we're eating is a huge part of it. But it's also about what kind of clothes are we wearing? Vegans aren't buying wool and silk and leather. What kind of entertainment do we consume? Vegans are not going to the circus or to SeaWorld. We are not going to petting zoos. What types of products do we use? Well, vegans are not going to use products that have been tested on animals or have animal products in them, including things like honey. So it's really all encompassing. And the way I like to describe it is that veganism kind of shows up in every decision that I make every day. And maybe that seems like a lot, but we're making decisions about stuff all day anyway. We still have to choose what we're eating. We still have to choose what clothes we put on. If we're going shopping, we still have to make choices there. So it doesn't make us have more choices. We just have a different approach to those choices. And we have a comment here from Mike. Thanks, Mike. So if you want to do keto, are you talking about vegan keto or standard keto? As we're here on Virtual Veg Fest within the plant-based network, we certainly wouldn't be talking about any diets that include animal products, and we wouldn't be encouraging that. So I don't, and I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't really have a lot of information about vegan keto, but from the doctors that I follow, like Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, the approach is really more about whole foods and having them come from plants. So keto doesn't really fall within that. And I have to admit, I don't know a ton about keto. I just believe that it's very heavy on the animal products. So we won't really talk about that. I would say my suggestion would be to explore some other options. Again, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn certainly has books. His is, of course, focused on reversing and preventing heart disease, which honestly, if anyone's eaten the standard American diet, the book could be helpful for you. And his son, Rip Esselstyn, also has some books, and he was like a firefighter and a triathlete. So if you're concerned about bulking up, you can watch Game Changers. There are a bunch of other healthy options too outside of that. But thanks. Helene has a suggestion for you here, Mike. There's got to be a ton of information, of course, on vegan keto. So I hope that what little bit of information I had about that was helpful. And certainly I hope that you're able to look into those other suggestions as well. It never hurts to have more information, right? Okay, so we've talked about veganism and how that encompasses everything. And like every products that we buy, food we eat, all that stuff. So what about vegetarian? That one is even more common, right? We hear vegetarian all the time. So there's a few options within the vegetarian definition and lifestyle. Vegetarian typically will mean that the person doesn't eat animal flesh, but they will eat eggs and cheese. And sometimes the vegetarian will want to qualify, maybe they only eat one of those and not the other. So if you are a vegetarian who eats dairy, consumes dairy, but doesn't consume eggs, then you would call yourself a lacto-vegetarian. And if you are a vegetarian who eats eggs, but you don't consume dairy, then you would be considered an ovo-vegetarian. Most people, though, don't get that specific when they're talking about, when they're explaining that they're vegetarian. And also, vegetarian can be diet focused, or it can be both, from an ethical standpoint and from a diet standpoint. So when I went vegetarian, the only thing that was really keeping me from calling myself vegan was that I still ate eggs and cheese. But I had changed. I was young. I was only 20 and I didn't have anything else to spend my money on. So I donated or gave away all of the like animal products I had, as far as like shoes, like leather shoes, and I was able to replace all of those things. Beauty products I was able to share with friends or family who would finish it, and I was able to buy cruelty-free products. So I was in a position where I was able to do a quick overhaul in my life, but not everyone is in that position. So so some vegetarians will take that step and they'll stop using things that have been tested on animals or include animal products outside of just what they're eating. But others will just change their diet, and they will continue to carry a leather handbag, wear leather shoes, use their standard beauty products without a concern of whether or not they've been tested on animals. So we can see where that makes them different than vegans, right? Because vegans still are avoiding all animal products in all aspects of life, again, as far as is possible and practicable. Okay, then, so now, veganism is kind of a full encompassing of everything in life, but now we're going to move into things that really are more about what you're eating. So a plant-based diet, a whole foods plant-based diet, or whole food plant-based, no salt, oil, or sugar. So those are three options that typically are just the way someone describes how they eat. Most people that are in this realm are doing that for their health. Most people who go vegan, it's an ethical decision, considering not just themselves, but every other sentient being that's caught up within the system that humans have created in order to live the way that we live. But so plant-based can be confusing because it doesn't always mean that there are no animal products. Plant-based can also mean that it is mostly plants and sometimes animal products. Whole food plant-based typically means that it's only plant foods. And you're shopping when you're at the grocery store, for example, you're just shopping around the outside of the grocery store. You're not going into those aisles that have a lot of the boxed and processed foods. You're eating a lot of the produce and grains. Maybe you're buying some plant milk. But plant-based, and then whole foods plant-based, are based in plants, really. And then when you throw in the no salt, oil, and sugar, those kind of go back to the two that I just mentioned earlier. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, his son Rip has a version of his plan that is completely no salt, oil, and sugar. And people do that for a lot of different health reasons. There may be if someone's suffering from diabetes or heart disease, they typically will find that in this research, these diets will come up as a suggestion for a way to help improve their health. So certainly, if that's something that is a concern for you and you're motivated to eat plant-based, check here at the Plant-Based Network. There's tons of resources here for you. And then, of course, kind of explore those plant-based doctors who will have a ton more information for you. Forks Over Knives is a good documentary that will give you a lot of information about the whole foods plant-based lifestyle. So again, when we're looking at plant-based, vegetarian, and veganism, so vegans and vegetarians will also sometimes consume junk food or vegan junk food, more of the processed things. Maybe you're eating, a veggie burger or some vegan chicken nuggets, vegan mac and cheese, those kinds of things. And people who are following a whole foods plant-based diet, they don't consume any of that. It literally is all things made from plants and very simple ingredients. And then we can move into, and what's interesting, and I'll just backtrack for just a second, that I've met so many people, I say so many, but maybe a handful, where they would hear that I was vegetarian and they'd be like, oh, I'm vegetarian too. And then they would, we'd be at at a buffet or something, and oh, I'm vegetarian too, as they're like spooning chicken onto their plate. So it's confusing too that people kind of feel that maybe only vegetarians aren't eating red meat. And I hope that at this point, with all the information that's available online, that it's clear that vegetarian really is just vegetables. But I've had people say that to me, I'm vegetarian, I only eat chicken, or I only eat fish. But that's not, you're not a vegetarian if you eat animal flesh, right? So that leads me into being pescatarian. This might be a new word for some of you. So a pescatarian is a person who eats fish, but they don't eat any other animal products. So they'll even be off, cheese and eggs. They're not eating any other meat, but they're eating fish and a lot of plants. So that one, I think, by the name alone, it's pretty clear that that fish is involved. But otherwise, it can be, some people might think if you're a vegetarian, you can eat fish, and then they don't. They would assume if you said I'm vegetarian, that they would be able to serve you some kind of, fish dish. And then the last definition that I want to talk about is one. It's called a flexitarian, and I wanted to include this one because it's not at all vegetarian or vegan or even close to that. While it does encourage that you increase your vegetable consumption and grains and things like that, it doesn't actually limit or give you any restrictions on the amount of animal products that you would be eating. So if you ask me, and I guess you would since you're here, this is just what I would call someone who eats a regular standard American diet but wants to eat healthier. So what do we find out when we're like, oh, we should eat healthier? Everybody's always like, eat more vegetables, and then you'll be healthier. And that's essentially what that is. For me, I think that a flexitarian is just someone who wants to have a label or something to call themselves, to be like part of a club. I don't know, there's probably better places to look than to call yourself a flexitarian, find a group that way. But so why does this matter? Why does it matter? Who cares what we call ourselves, and what does it all mean in the end anyway? Well, it matters because it can be really confusing. And especially when you're vegan, it's not so much like if you eat something that someone's made and it has some kind of animal product in it and you didn't know, it's not like it's going to physically harm you. You're not going to, it's very unlikely that outside of some severe allergic reaction, right, that having that would kill you or put you in the hospital or really hurt you. But there's so much more to being vegan than just what we're eating. There's this emotional component, there's a mental component, there's an ethical component. And there's a lot to take in if we've been fed animal products. And, that doesn't mean that if you are vegan and you've eaten something unknowingly that has animal products in it, that like you're not vegan anymore, or that you have to confess to someone. Like, it's not that at all. Um, but it's about respect, and it's about, people making choices and understanding what words mean. Language is important. That's how we communicate with each other. If we want to understand one another, we have to know what the other person is telling us. And today, this timing couldn't be better, honestly, because there was a post today from beloved Dr. Greger and Nutrition Facts, and I think he's amazing. And anyone, so Mike, if you're still here, you might want to check out nutritionfacts.org. Dr. Greger has such an incredible team, and he is so amazing. And the research that they do, the information that they share on their website, and it's all free, is just phenomenal. You can find information about all things food related. And, he is very much in line with the whole foods, plant-based lifestyle. And because his research shows that that is the healthiest thing and the best thing for humans. But he posted today that he said eating healthfully is not about vegetarianism, veganism, or any other ism. And then from a nutrition standpoint, that's the reason I don't like I don't like the terms vegetarian and vegan, is that they're defined by what you don't eat. And I guess technically, but at the same time, it's also about choices that we make and what we will eat. And yeah, I guess what we won't eat is there too. But it makes it kind of almost feels like being vegan, or saying I'm vegan using that word, excuse me, is like a bad thing. But it's not. I think that the word vegan is amazing and beautiful and should be used, because when we know what it means, when we can define it clearly, it answers all of the questions. And, at the end of the day, humans are all seeking connection and understanding, and we all just want to be seen. So if we can use words like vegan to describe who we are, how we show up in the world, and the people that we're talking to can understand immediately what that means and what that looks like, we've established this connection without a ton of back and forth, without those feelings of, oh, here's this vegan going on about, all this, and, vegans are always talking about how they're vegan. But maybe we wouldn't have to if we all took the time to understand the words that our friends and our family are using when they're telling us who they are and what they're doing. So that was a lot. And I thank you all for being here and listening to me. Do you guys have any questions or comments? Is there anything else you'd like to share? I'll just give you a second while we wait to see if anything else comes in. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming here and listening. You could do a million other things, but you're here with me, and I'm so thankful for that. And I really appreciate you taking this time to be here with me tonight and every Monday. I'm here every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Bring your questions. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Did You Bring the Hummus? And you can send me your questions there if you have a topic you'd like me to cover. You can also send a message to Virtual Veg Fest Live, and we'll get your questions collected that way too. So definitely check out the website, do some searches. I hope that this helps you understand more around the words that we use and why it truly is so important. Okay. Well, again, thank you so much. Have a beautiful week, and I will see you next Monday. Thank you.